Well, thank you so much, Eliran, for joining me on Behind the Art. Obviously, I've been a huge fan of yours. God, since I'm pretty sure it was Testament's Formation of Damnation artwork. That was the first thing that I've seen of yours. And then from that point on, it was like I saw your work everywhere. But really, really stoked that you're able to do this. But yeah, man, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. And also, I've been really keen to do this interview because I've been following your work for a while, and some of your recent stuff has been your best, and some of the stuff that, we're doing digital art. You always think about the medium itself, and you think, am I really, being honest with myself about digital art? Do I like other digital artists? And once in a while, you see some of the stuff like you posted this piece with a guy that's like looking out of a slit in the window or something.
Oh,
and there's
yeah.
a red light coming in, and I love that one. And there's also this one with like a cone head kind of figure with red mouth as well, which is such effective use of color. And those two pieces are it's still amazing to get excited about new art that's coming out in 2025, right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
dude,
So
thank you.
It's awesome to to still get excited about the kind of stuff, but also to see that the medium itself can be exciting and interesting and moving.
Yeah, man, thank you, dude. Honestly, like I look at your work. Obviously, comparison is the destroyer of joy. And when I look at your art, I'm like, damn, like your stuff is just, to me, it's just kind of like out of the stratosphere. It's everything that I love about art in general. There's this like sophistication about your piece. It almost like reminds me of kind of like Renaissance painters, but you also obviously you add the modern kind of tropes with the stuff you do for the bands. But yeah, you saying that makes me really happy because I'm always thinking I suck and like kind of like not.
Pieces besides being two fantastic pieces, I can't say the same thing about those two pieces. When I can say, you know what, I can see the influences of this movement in art history, or this, I mean, it stands on its own, which is cool because maybe I'm just not very familiar with modern art and horror art in general, but to me that kind of stuff has like a vibe all of its own. So I would love to see like more of that stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of tried to, because I use a lot of 3D in my artwork. Like most of my figures I compose it in like 3D programs, and I'll do the post stuff in Photoshop. But like, yeah, I'm still trying to like figure out what like my style is, because sometimes I always go through phases where I focus on a certain type of art, and then I like switch back. But I think over a period of time it just kind of gradually happens, and I'm just letting it happen naturally. I'm not trying to force anything, like try to force a style or whatever. I just do what I want to do at that very moment.
And it goes against what you said about this stuff. You just called me sophisticated, and then I said the word stuff like 20 times in a row. I mean, magic happens when we are a bit more primitive and a bit more connected to, this maybe childish kind of mindset that it just, I love this because I love this, and I have no idea why. I don't know what about it attracts me and what makes me think about, I should explore this more and figure out new ways to use it and be expressive or whatever. And this is where I feel like I get connected to those pieces more. The less sophisticated they are and more primal that they are, the more innocent, when they come from this very innocent place where, when you go back to being a kid in high school drawing penises on the desktops and You know, if you give me a piece of paper and a pen and say just draw something, or it would be either like a penis or a sausage or a face of one of the mutant ninja turtles, because that's, you know, your automatic muscle memory kicks in from when you were 14 to 17, which is that age where everything solidifies for you. You know, your taste in music, your taste in art, probably. You know, I just talked about it with my wife yesterday, that there was this study showing that the most impact music has on you is the music that you find out about when you're 14 to 17. And I'm like, whoa, the list of my favorite bands of all time, that list has been locked up, you know, it's been finalized since I was 17. I mean, most of it, I guess.
Yeah, actually, my older brother, he's 12 years older than me, but yeah, he had a theory. He said after the age of 25, you're pretty much all the bands that you listen to, you're pretty much those are the bands you'll probably listen to for the rest of your life, or like you won't like move past those as much. I mean, you'll you know get new bands, but for the most part, you always have those foundation bands. You know what I mean? And I think it's kind of true.
Yeah, for sure. And it just makes it even more magical when you find out about a new great band or art or visual artist that you really love, you know, way deep into your 30s and 40s, because it's like, oh, I didn't think this feeling even exists. I totally forgot about finding out about new stuff and getting excited. Just need to switch off for on silent mode, so I'm just such an unprofessional.
It's all right. This is actually a perfect segue into the first question. So when did you like start creating art? I don't know, like you want to go far as back as in the beginning, like when you were a kid, or like professionally, like when did you start doing like album covers, I guess is the
about 2004. So I was 2000. I couldn't do it when I was 20. No, I should have been about 18. So that was 2002. I worked with a couple of local bands back in Israel, guys who are you know, friends of mine, or in circles that aligned with circles that I was in. We were also active in this message board online. So, and it's such a tiny scene that you get to see all of those people in every show and in every metal party you go to. So you meet all the bands and you get to know everybody. And it's such a tight clique, you know, and a scene. So it was easy to get local gigs that way. So the first couple of album covers I did were for two bands. I can't remember which one came first. You can go on Metal Archives and know them better than me, I guess. One of them was a band called Solitary, and another one was called Army Loss. And two people from Army Loss are now playing in Orphanland.
Okay, yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Cool. And those two were the first ones that I did professionally. I mean, my way to approach it was always, okay, I was a kid who, you know, made pictures, and then I woke up the next day and kept on making pictures because this is what I liked, and now I woke up and I'm 40. And that's it.
Ditto.
At some point it became a career, because I figured, okay, I need to be paid in order to keep on doing it, because I've been doing it. And also, yeah, it makes sense, you know, you need money to live. But in general, it wasn't like a conscious decision. The most conscious decision in this entire journey was when I was working for an advertisement company. I was doing like national internet campaigns for like Toys R Us, Renault, and Nissan, and Pizza Hut. Okay. And that was when I used to go back home like at 8 at night and started working on artwork for local bands. So after maybe a bit less than a year, I quit the advertisement firm in order to pursue this full time.
So
of doing only album covers. I mean, I was doing also, I think, MySpace designs and some logos and t-shirts.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
To this day, the only band that I still do t-shirts and stage designs for is Testament, but that's just because I don't trust anybody else to mess with my art. And then afterwards they say, why does this came like shit? I don't know, I wasn't the one who set it up. You took some guy who put the logo on top of it and changed the color scheme and what was it? Bypass the color profile, which used to be annoy me to no end. Everything would turn to green because people don't know how to use Photoshop. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I just don't want to be the guy in charge of when somebody else fucks up, because then at the end it's like, okay, this is Eliran's artwork, so he must be to blame about it.
Yeah, because I work for a music promoter currently, doing kind of like graphic design stuff, and like I work with a lot of other people's files and things like that. And sometimes I'm always like, I'm told to kind of, oh yeah, use this font, edit this, and like I just do what I'm told basically. And it's like I wonder how the artist feels. It's probably like killing them inside, seeing it like kind of dissected and still, but it's just like, oh, it's just that's what they're having me do. So it's not my fault.
I mean, I think artists really appreciate it when let's say you make changes to their art, before you send it to the band or the promoter, send it to the artist. I mean, just without CCing the promoter and everything. I think I appreciate it greatly when other artists who use my work, graphic designers, layout guys, everybody else, just double checks with me before showing it to the band. Because you can get to a situation where the band goes, yeah, we like that one, don't change it. And then you say, oh, I see a mistake. And they're like, no, we like that mistake. So it's always nice to be not in the loop, but before the loop.
Yeah, totally. So when you finish a piece, do you do like the logo placement and all that text, or does somebody else do that usually?
No, I do the logo placement and the text,
Okay.
and I make sure to have it on the first draft as well, because that's the way. It annoys me to no end to have the idea of composition, of any part of the composition, being an afterthought, because it's a very delicate balance. Each and every thing you do to the logo or the album title changes the dynamics, changes the balance, changes the actual composition itself, because you need to place things in a way that makes the eye go in the direction that you want it to go. And also, even if we disregard the composition, it has to fit with the colors. It needs to fit with the textures and the vibe you're after. So
yeah, totally.
make sure to have the logo and the title planned very early in advance from the very first sketch, because otherwise you build a foundation for the composition and then disrupt it afterwards.
Yeah, actually, that was I had a conversation with Dusty Peterson, and he did this album cover for I think Unleash the Archers, and it was like the Explorers album, and it had this like creature kind of lurking, and it had like a ship below, and I guess when he designed it, they didn't tell him where the logo was going to go, so like he just designed it very much to the edge of the thing, and then like when they were like, oh no, the logo needs to go on the top, someone else like just kind of placed the logo, and it almost like takes away from the art, because it's like the logo's too big, and then the way it was blended in, like they tried to blend it in, but it just didn't work quite right. It just doesn't take away from the amazing art, but it's just like, as a graphic designer, like I like text placement and like fonts are like just like chef's kiss on good art. You know what I mean? Like it can really take away from the initial, like just the look of it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it can be the chef's kiss or the chef's spit at the end. Yeah, it's and I love Dusty. Dusty is another great example of somebody who's also making me feel very secure about not only the medium but also about us, growing older and keep making new artwork, because also his new stuff are his best stuff too. So I love Dusty's artwork, and I can totally feel him through that story. It's I mean, I remember when Gamma Ray did the reissues, and the reissues that Gamma Ray did had like no logos on them. No logos and no, because it was inside like a slipcase, I think. And I was like, whoa, I've never liked these album covers so much as I like them now when I see them without the band logo and the album title. So there were a few years when I was trying to, I gave each and every band almost this Pink Floyd lecture about how Pink Floyd figured it out that, you know, when the album appears in stores, you get a sticker with the band name on top of it. When the album appears in advertisements, the band logo and title appears elsewhere as well, right next to it, and in reviews also, in magazines, etc. So in each and every application, you will in any way get the logo and title. So the design company, I'm totally blanking out, but it was Hypnosis. They figured out very early that one thing is that for logistical, you don't need it for logistical reasons, but it also can take away from the impact of the artwork. So some of the album covers were so iconic just because they didn't have, you know, the title and the band logo on top of it. You know, take Dark Side of the Moon and just place some text over it, it will lose like 50% of its potency. It's just more memorable because everything that's presented to you is the stuff that you're getting the impact from. And when you have text on top of it, in most cases, the text is just there to give you the information about what's the name of the album, what's the name of the band. Which is why I used to go on two different routes. Either I would give bands the Pink Floyd discussion, or I would try to blend the logo and even the title inside the story. Because, you know, a lot of my early artwork heroes were either political cartoonists, or even though I was a kid and I didn't know anything about what are those characters are, what war are they even talking about. But I was really drawn to the concept of telling the entire story with a punchline through a single frame. And so my heroes were earlier heroes are either caricaturists or animators. And animators had, you know, the entire like 20 minutes to tell a story. So if you look at my work, you can see that a lot of it is done through the eyes of a failed caricature guy and a failed animator, because all of them are either telling the entire story in one, or they have this sense of movement to them that I can't do because I don't do animation. So there's a lot of movement and there's a lot of storytelling compressed into one frame. And then all of a sudden I was faced with this interference from the logos and the titles. So I had to find ways to implement them in the stories. So I had, you know, a bunch of tricks like having signs or banners or, you know, scrolls. I did like an album cover for the band Master, and I drew the band's logo in blood on the floor. It was kind of fun, but after a while, I noticed that if I would keep on doing it just because I want to do it, as a solution, it would become a shtick, and I'll be that guy who does this thing. So I had to expand and live with the place that logos and titles get in the composition. And that was the point that I got into calligraphy as well, because I was looking at album covers and I would recognize the same fonts again and again and again.
Trajan Pro.
Trajan,
yeah, that's a metal band go-to. Or
yeah. So, I mean, we had those days with Abaddon as well. Do you remember the Abaddon days?
Oh yeah.
So I started I mean, at the beginning, I was looking for fonts that nobody would use, but after a while, I started doing calligraphy by myself. And when I say calligraphy, it was just me and a pen and a piece of paper, just a standard pen. Don't think I'm going to
Oh
show
yeah.
you like a calligraphy pen. But still, I mean, my handwriting is not something that I'm very proud of, but as a result of it being so uneven and unprofessional, it just looks totally different from anybody else's. Like anybody else who has not a perfect handwriting. So I started doing those titles, at least the titles, on my own, and also the logos. I was trying to trace them a little bit in order to create this like new version of them. With the band Satan, I think I did like 3 or 4 different logos for them, because you always go back to that time when you saw Master of Puppets and you saw the logo being made out of marble, and it was
Yeah.
just half of what I like about that album cover is in that logo. So that's like a 10 out of 10 recreation of a logo as an album cover, as far as I'm concerned. So this has been the bar that I was striving for, which is also, it got you to be excited about the logo as well. So
Yes.
that's a solution for that problem too.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Like the first like four Metallica albums had a very like even like Injustice for All had it kind of set into that stone, and Ride the Lightning, of course, was like kind of metallic or metal, kind of with the electricity and everything.
Yeah.
What's your so you do a lot of hand calligraphy and you kind of add it to your artwork. Do you start like directly on the computer when you're creating your album covers, or do you like sketch it out, scan it, and then paint over it, or what's your process to create? I guess.
There were times when I was sketching on paper, but they were very, few and far between. Nowadays, sometimes I would do like a doodle. And I remember I was reading this blog post by John Kay, the guy who invented Ren and Stimpy. And he said that Ren and Stimpy were created when he was talking on the phone and just doing doodles on those, all the yellow notes, sticky notes. And that's how Stimpy was born, I think. Because you do that, your mind goes into like a playful mode and you just do crazy shapes. And that's it. You just do lines and shapes. You don't think about deeper concept. You don't think about really a story. But some cool things can come out of it. So once in a while, I try to sit down and just doodle away, but it won't end up as a sketch that you can afterwards paint over. So it's really rough, really cartoonish, and really, primitive.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of do that too because I draw. I used to take an art class or in college, and I learned like life drawing and everything. And I can draw, but I'm so out of practice that I mean, I'm considering just starting to draw more. But yeah, all my sketches are very just like loose and just kind of like just to kind of retain the idea. Even perspectives all off. I'll just draw like little stick figures and be like, write a little note like this guy is flying in the sky and has blood coming out of his eyes and things like that. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Like just obviously you can't like I know there's some artists that they just literally their thumbnail sketches are like the final like piece, but just like this big, like they're so on it that they can just make crazy decisions and just like that's how the album artwork is going to be. For me, it's like a lot of the experimentation happens like mid artwork because sometimes I'll just like an idea that I had initially, I start to flesh it out and it's like not working, so I'll like restructure it and then I just like become sometimes something different. But I don't know if that's similar to you, if like you have an outline of an idea and then like you start working on it and you're like, oh wait a minute, this is not working out, or so I may have to change it.
Yeah, the experimentation phase usually happens with the actual medium that you're going to use at the end for me. But a lot of the sketching work as far as I think about it, is happening in my head. A lot of these album covers were born out of me, walking around in my apartment in circles, thinking about, okay, I've got this idea, but I have no idea what characters will represent it, what kind of storyline, what kind of composition. So instead of sitting down and trying to figure it out on paper, I use my imagination until I see the finished cover more or less in my head. The problem with that is that afterwards you're just chasing that vision when in practice, and you will never achieve the perfect representation of that vision that you had in your imagination. This is why the movie is always not as good as the book, because your imagination will, fill out the blanks with whatever is best for you, whatever is more moving for you specifically.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. Kind of like I was talking to Lee about that, and it was like, Jurassic Park, the novel by Michael Crichton, like, that to me was like just I saw the movie before I read the book, but reading the book, you're like, wow, like this is insane how much more like alive it is, I guess, in book form than movie form.
Yeah,
which is interesting. Yeah.
I never read I think I did it once with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The book was better, and which one else? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Those two I remember that I saw the movie and I read the book, and the book was better. But I didn't used to read a lot, and now with audiobooks, I think I read more in the last few years than I did in my entire life, because I was just so bad with keeping a book in my hand and finishing it. I don't know. I just grew up without getting into too many books, and also movies, to be honest with you, because maybe it's an attention span thing. I was a TV kid. I was glued to the TV, but to this day there are so many essential movies that I haven't even seen. I don't know
actually,
why I grew up that way.
Yeah, because I don't read a whole lot, but I remember because my dad is from India, and we actually moved to India about 28 years ago, me and my family. And when we were in the transition period of moving, we didn't really have like cable TV, so we couldn't really watch movies, we couldn't watch TV, so all we had were books. So like I read, I don't know how many books I read in that summer, but I read probably like 4 or 5, 6 huge giant books, like, and just from that alone, like I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But you'd be surprised on when you don't have something, like when you don't have distractions like social media or all this other stuff, like you'll just like go back to like just old school methods, reading or even drawing, or and it's actually it's actually refreshing. It's harder to do nowadays, obviously, because everything is so digital, but yeah, there's something to do with like, wow, there's absolutely nothing to do. I guess I can read this book, and it becomes like just like watching TV, I guess. Like, I'm going to read a book now. But I wish I kind of got back into more reading. It's tough, it's tough to kind of focus.
Yeah, and that's also one of the things I spoke with Lee about on our interview, is that my influences were a bit different from like the American influences, because I grew up in Israel, and we had like a very different set of, not like influences, but the stuff that used to go on our TV were animations from the Soviet Union, animation from the Far East, animations from just weird places, a Belgium and Japan collaboration, a Dutch-Japanese collaboration, some Middle Eastern stuff as well. And it was just, it got to a point where all of my influences are very different to a lot of my colleagues. And I wanted to ask you about that as well. Was it like different in India? Because I remember I still, to this day, I just had to learn about Conan and Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff when I was in my 20s, because I didn't grow up with American stuff.
Yeah, I moved when I was about 13, 14. So
now that I have no idea even if Lord of the Rings or Conan are American, but the cartoon versions of them and the movie versions of them. So
okay, yeah, Lord of the Rings I think is British. J.R.
Mhm.
Tolkien's a British author, and then but yeah, like yeah, living in India for sure. There's, I mean, you got the cultural things, like you got like Bollywood, you got all the Hindi music, and I mean, India is so diverse in terms of like you have Hindus, you have Muslims, you have Christians, you have Jewish people, you have all kinds of people living in the same place. But like, yeah, there was definitely more of a European, like especially like MTV, and then there was this channel called VH1,
Oh yeah,
not
I grew up
VH1,
with VH1 was a
Channel
huge
V.
influence for me. Did you say Channel V?
Yeah.
Oh, we used to get Channel V as well. And also, which version of MTV did you get? Did you get like the European version or the UK?
It
Which one was it?
I think initially it was like the Hong Kong version of MTV, and then it switched over to MTV India. So it was like when I moved to Mount 96, everything was sort of like still they were still getting stuff from like Europe and parts of like Asia, other parts of Asia. So that yeah, it was weird, like kind of like during like the Macarena and like all these like pop bands that like probably people in the US have never heard of. Like I was like, exposed to, and
Uh-huh.
just like, who's this guy? Like Dr. Albin, who's this guy?
Yeah, that's
like,
all right.
just things like that. So, and in that way, it was kind of cool just to kind of experience something different, and
Yeah. Wow, it makes you wonder about all of those. I mean, for us, it was clear that this is like the biggest hit in the world right now, La Macarena, Dr. Alban, or Scatman, or whatever. And now
yeah.
that you're thinking about it, maybe the American guys didn't even get all of that stuff that we were considering like a global hit. Because the Macarena that was the summer of Macarena. You couldn't avoid it. It was everywhere. The cover versions alone were like every other commercial on TV had their version of Macarena, only selling macaroni.
yeah, I think the US like has a thing where like, oh, if it doesn't get big in the US, it's like we don't care. And like the thing is, like, that's why bands like metal bands, for instance, are like huge in Europe and like Asia, but they're not big here. Like I've seen bands playing, tiny clubs here, and then
Mhm.
they go to Europe and they're playing these huge festivals.
Yeah.
Even like, even Testament, for instance, I've bumped into Chuck Billy a couple times. I live in the near the Bay Area. Like I'm actually from the town next to where Chuck is from. I'm from
Mm.
Hayward. He was from Dublin, so he's like right next door.
Oh, right, right. You're from Dublin.
um, but yeah, it's like there's so many, obviously like Testament, Exodus, Forbidden, obviously Metallica, but like a lot of those bands, they like play huge shows like anywhere else but here. It's like here they're playing small clubs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and with that in mind, there's also this parallel scene where the hair metal revival scene, or maybe the new metal revival scene also, are playing bigger clubs in the US than they do over here, or don't play here at all. I mean, whenever there's like an announcement about a Skid Row tour or Firehouse tour or whatever, I can't remember even, but I would see only US dates, and they would every few years they would come here, but they would play the US circuits every year. So I think it's about specific subgenres in our music. I can't remember the
Yeah,
last year, so like I think Skid Row was here maybe like 10 years ago or something.
yeah. I think in general, like Europeans' taste in music is far broader. Like they're like people here, they go through those phases of like, oh, that's not cool anymore, so we're not going to listen to
Mm.
it. But in Europe, it's like you got people who are into glam, who are into like the cheesy '80s stuff because they embrace it, and like that. I think that's cool because it's
Mhm.
not like music to me is like transcends time, a time period. And I'm like I grew up obviously in the like the beginning of grunge and like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, and even like some of the alternative bands like Toad the Wet Sprocket and like all those bands. And now I'm actually appreciating them more now as I'm going to be 43, like because it's like the music of your childhood. You may not
Mhm.
appreciate it when you're a kid, but when you get older, you're like, I'm going to revisit this, and and I think a lot of people hear, they're like, oh, well, that band's old. Like, I'm not going to listen to, you know, this band. And they're, you know, it's Lady Gaga now is the thing, you know, or I don't know.
So strange to think about it, but maybe it's also it comes with the price, because I think um, it's about the intensity of it, because when those bands were huge, they were really, really huge over there. I mean, when those bands in the US that now are playing bars were big, they were playing stadiums.
Oh
So
yeah.
so over here it was maybe like steady. They would play in front of 5,000 people their entire career, but over there in the US they would play football stadiums in, I don't know, 87, and then dive bars today. So I think it can be related maybe to the intensity of it, because it gets so high and so low, and over here it's like in the middle. So maybe I hope these bands saved up a lot of money when they were huge.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get the same chance unless you're on that steady roll, like in here in Europe. Because every year I go see every year I see flyers or posters of Alice Cooper playing Berlin, and he's always playing the same size venues. It never fluctuates. So that's cool.
Yeah. So kind of changing topics a little bit. When a band contacts you, and are you at that point where you're have free reign to kind of just come up with the idea and the concept, or is it like a collaborative effort, or does the band have a specific idea and you just kind of flesh it out for them?
I mean, sometimes bands would write to me and they have a very specific idea ready in advance, and if it excites me, I'll just do it exactly as they say it. I mean, exactly as they describe it. But most of the time, I get excited about. First thing is the process of coming up with my own idea. Or maybe a band would write me and then I would say, you know what, I already have this idea that I was looking for a way to express it, or a way to find a home for it. And now that you're telling me that your new album is about love or hate or friendship, I was like, oh, there was something that I wanted to flesh out about this topic of friendship in any way. But I think most of the times I ask the bands to just have a normal conversation with me, explaining to me what the album is about, what is happening in their personal life that made them write those themes, those lyrics, pick that album title, and what it means to them. And then I would use the waiting time that I have between pre-booking and actual working in order to think about it a little bit and filter out all the mundane, run-of-the-mill ideas that sometimes are the quickest one to go to your head, because like, oh yeah, friendship, I need two figures holding hands, and then after like a week, you're like, oh shit, even I myself use this on 2 album covers this year alone. So yeah, that I'm so happy that last week I wasn't like, okay, you know what, I've got an idea. So it's always nice to remind yourself to not go with your very first idea, but use the time to live with it for a little bit and not regret it afterwards, because you can always go back to old ideas as well.
Yeah, because I've noticed like some of you, like there's this cover that you did for this band. I wrote it down here, Green Death, and it was like the album was Manufacturing Evil. And I remember I followed that band on Instagram a few years ago, and like it was like the cover, it showed like kind of these spool, like it was literally manufacturing, and it literally showed you and usually like when it's on the nose like that, it's kind of cheesy, but you somehow made it very like compelling and looked awesome. And I think I really love that. Like you kind of think outside the box of like a regular idea on the nose, but then you make it work in your way. You know what I mean?
It was supposed not to be so on the nose, because I can't stand it when the title is just being spoon-fed to you with, you need another layer of metaphor. Because, okay, we can all agree that Vulgar Display of Power is a great album cover, right?
Yeah.
Okay, imagine that the album was titled A Punch to the Face. all of a sudden, that tension and drama that exists between the title and the metaphor that represents it, it just loses all of its, it's not even sophistication. It is about creating, as I said, tension and drama. There's like, if you spoon feed it, you don't enjoy it as much as when you get an entire journey towards it, from the title to the visual representation. So that album cover by Green Death, a great band and fantastic guys to work with, that started out as an album called Blood In, Blood Out by Exodus. So
Okay.
that album cover started out as an Exodus album cover, and we just couldn't agree on some stuff, and we ended up abandoning. I mean, they ended up going elsewhere with another artist and another concept. But then I'm not sure how it happened, but I remember when I offered it to Green Death, I can't remember if they had the title in advance or afterwards, but it fit. And I remember that the original concept was me thinking about a Jerry Seinfeld routine, when he was saying that a hair on a human head is something very nice. But when you have like when you have curls or a big afro, everybody is like, can I touch it? But the moment that a string of hair falls from your head and onto the floor, or even like on the table next to you, then all of a sudden it becomes disgusting. It was so fluffy and nice to touch and interesting like a moment ago, but now it's horrible. So that joke made me think about a way to create something horrible out of human hair, which was the basis for. I'm not sure if I explained it to Gary Holt when we were working on that album cover. I think our problem wasn't about the concept; it was about the way I did it. They wanted to go more modern with less, old school thrash metal colors, and even those colors I ended up changing them for Green Death, because all of their album covers are green, but the original colors I think were yellow and purple.
Okay, interesting.
And
I'm glad I asked this. This is very intriguing.
I've never spoke about that album cover in any interview before.
Yeah.
Never. And that album cover at the beginning, it was, if you look at it, it's a scene that takes place in a warehouse. So the warehouse originally, I had like the roof was blown open, but it was blown open in the shape of the Exodus logo. Maybe one day I'll ask Green Death if I can show it publicly one day, because it was cool to work on that album cover, even though it didn't end up as an Exodus album cover. We did a couple of what was it, backdrops together, which is why we ended up also, which was successful, which is why we ended up working on the album cover.
Very cool. Yeah. That's kind of, the whole on the nose thing. And I kind of agree with you in some aspects, but I think just knowing the band Green Death, like they kind of have this like sort of like 1950s comic book sort of like, kind of vibe. So it sort of works for them, I think, in particular. But that's really interesting that it was meant for
Exodus. It's not completely on the nose. It's not like manufacturing evil with human hair.
Yeah.
Too much. So
yeah, I mean I think because like the spool thread, like a lot of people probably don't consider that, like when they think of manufacturing, they think of like like automobiles being manufactured or like robots being manufactured. They don't think of like a textile company making like clothes or something. So kind of like.
So for those listening that are not familiar with the album cover shows a couple of people walking, these mysterious figures walking in an industrial place, sewing, what was it? Taking decapitated heads, removing the hair in order to put them on sewing spools for sewing. What was it? Sewing the fabric in which the title is on. I
Yeah.
guess that's the end product, that flag. So maybe it's a backdrop printing place. Maybe I have no idea what it is. I was so invested in the material part of the manufacturing process that I didn't even think about what the end product is. I was thinking about the materials, but I guess the end it's it's a banner sewing place, I guess.
So obviously you've worked with some pretty big bands, like some legendary bands. Is there still a certain, do you still get intimidated like when you're working on, like, either for the first time or every time like you're working on a project? Do you ever get intimidated like, oh shit, I better not mess this up? Or has it kind of eased over the years now that you've become more of a name, I guess?
When I'm in front of the actual piece, then I'm freaking out. Yeah, this is whenever I do something, I'm like, I need to make this one count. I can't believe my idea this time is so bad. I can't believe this won't live up to the previous album or whatever. But you get used to almost everything. So working with some of your favorite bands, after like 10 years of telling dick jokes with them on WhatsApp, you're no longer intimidated by by the interaction with them, but you're still intimidated by the prospects of fucking up the actual work, especially because whatever you do, a few things happen. Whatever you do, you can't use this idea anymore. And if it's a good idea and everybody loves this album cover, and I think it's mostly a positive thing, but now I can't do anything that even resembles it because I've already used that idea. So already the next one will be harder to figure out. And also when those bands are so big that you get so much feedback, you get so many opinions of random strangers online, and some of them are right. Some of them, when you fuck up, they write some nasty stuff, but some of it's true. When one of the things that scares me the most is when I'm already done with an album cover, it shows up and somebody sees something so funny about it, and it wasn't supposed to be funny. Like, is that main character has an erection? And I was like, I just couldn't figure out how to paint the crease on the. I'm just going back to the first Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm episode when it's like, no, that's a crease. I screwed up the crease in the pants. But now everything the only thing you see about that album cover is this bulge. And luckily, this specific one never happened to me. But sometimes people say, "Is this supposed to be her? This supposed to be this?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I can't remember. I can't imagine why I couldn't notice it." It's something that I'm trying to avoid, because when you think about some people say, "I don't care what anybody else thinks," which is good, I guess, but also you don't want your artwork to contain anything that you didn't plan in advance to come across. And afterwards, when people point it out to you, now you see it. Now you can't unsee it. So it doesn't matter that that it doesn't supposed to be that way, but somebody else pointing it out, now you can't unsee it.
Yeah, that's I think that's the most challenging aspect of doing artwork for anybody, especially a band. Like usually there's like one member of the band that's kind of the guy you communicate with, and like, but then he'll ask the opinions of everybody else in the band, and then it just becomes this kind of like this like never ending, like one person likes it, the other person doesn't, and then it's like, make a decision already, and then you kind of hopefully end up with something that you don't hate, but has there ever been like a cover that you completed, that you finished, that you weren't like 100% happy with, but the band loved it?
All of them. Afterwards, it's like a relationship. You get used to the good stuff because it already, in your eyes, achieved what it needs to achieve, but the stuff that you are never happy with just sticks out to you because it was never resolved. So it's like after a while you only see the negative aspects of everything. So when I look at an old album cover, everything that jumps right in front of my head are only the things that I would do differently. And it's so hard to, to come back to that feeling that you had once you were done with it, and feeling and like this is over, this is ready, and being so excited about the way you managed to figure out how to do it. It's so hard to roll back and get back to that point, because it's just it's a lot of the process has is very solution oriented, problem solution oriented. It's like whenever there's an empty canvas, and then you need to figure out the concept, and you need to figure out the composition, then you need to figure out the colors. So there's it's a one-way movement from a question mark to a solution. So at the end, anything that wasn't concluded with a good answer, that's the only things you see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a skill in itself, just kind of letting something go as well, like being content that it's not 100% what you wanted it to be, but knowing when to move on. Because if you kind of dwell on your art, and I think it affects you negatively. Like it's just being able to just kind of, okay, on to the next one. Maybe I'll get it right the next time, or in my head I'll get it right, because a lot of the time it's just being an artist, you're kind of like, you're really hard on yourself anyway. Like, especially if you're really a type of artist that is very, very much wants to keep a certain quality. And then like, when it's not at that level, you get kind of depressed. And I think we all kind of go through that.
Yeah. And also, you need to remind yourself that this is a good thing. I mean, you can use the anxiety that you have in order to make the artwork better. It might not be the best thing for your mental being, for your health, but you can take something that's negative, like you're being obsessed, an obsessive person that never listens when anybody else is talking, because your mind just drifts elsewhere and think about the artwork or whatever fascinates you at the same moment. So yeah, you can just take it as, oh, I hate this aspect about me that makes me a shitty friend or a bad I don't know, partner or whatever. But then you think, okay, but the upside of it is that I get to invest that obsession into my artwork. You still want to fix those aspects about your personality, but at least it doesn't go to complete waste. At least it doesn't have like only a bad influence on your life.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to say about like, the old school artists, like the tortured artists, kind of sometimes you produce your best work when you're depressed, or if you're in like, you have, bad life experiences. It's the same thing with like, music, like, for instance, like Metallica, back in the 80s, obviously James had alcohol abuse issues and he had a lot, but it definitely translated to the music. But now that he's kind of sobered, I mean, I'm not saying that the newer music is like terrible, but there's definitely a certain thing when you're clear-headed, sometimes your creativity gets affected. Like you're not as like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. Like what I've experienced, just like, it starts to affect your art in a different way, if you're kind of like more clear-headed. Like, could you imagine Black Sabbath and Ozzy? And what if Ozzy never did all those drugs? Or like, would it be the same? Would it be during that? I always wondered that. It's like,
I guess it's about finding the right way that works for you, because with all those bands, yeah, they say we can't even remember writing that song, But on the other hand, you maybe have tons of some of your favorite bands that have kept this like very detailed journal of each and every movement in the music, that they were so in a hyper focus mode without any interference, without paying attention to anything else. So I guess it's more whatever works, and especially when you have bad influences that your personality or your behavior inflicts on yourself in any way, it's a good use of your time to harness the positive aspect of it in order to at least, even though it has a negative influence on your life, also make something nice from it. But if you don't have it, I guess it can work for some other people as well. And you know, you're also, each and every person goes through tons of stuff and tons of periods in which maybe they manage to be hyper focused on being a very positive spot and very you know, a great positive place in their life, but still come up with some of their best stuff as well. You're not like the same person that you were when you were making each and everything that you did in your life.
Yeah,
We go through phases.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess it's like everybody's kind of different. Have you talking about working with bands? Have you ever had like nightmare experiences with a band where it just like everything just did not come together and either had to like sever ties, or you don't have to name any names, but but just like in general, like have you ever had a bad experience like that where you're just like nothing was working and the band was being very difficult?
Nothing specifically comes to mind. I mean, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, when you're just starting out your career, there's not a lot of trust because you're pretty new in the scene. You don't have this body of work that people can look at and say, you know what, maybe I don't see the end result when I look at his sketch, but judging by his previous output, I know that it's going to be good at the end. So when you have more of your reputation and a deeper portfolio, people have the trust with you, even though this might be the very first time that you're working together. But when you're first starting out, people's guards are way up because they are not so sure about whether you can deliver or not. So there's a lot of second guessing and a lot of suspicion in the very early stages, because you would send them like a black and white sketch and they're like, oh, I really asked you to do something that's like Boris style. I'm like, yeah, afterwards I'm going to do it with those vivid colors and tight details. But now we need to, agree on the fundamentals, on the composition and the story. And I'm like, I don't know, this is not what we had in mind. And you can't even show them that you have this, this insurance policy of, you see what I already did before. I can guarantee to you that I will do the same high quality stuff for you as well.
Yeah.
And with the time, the more your career progresses, there's a lot more trust, and those issues tend to be more and more few and in between. How about you? I mean, how do you notice it? I think when you say about, when you talked earlier about bands, showing your sketches to the other band members, I think you'll find that if you've been working with the same band on the third album, they won't second guess it that much. And maybe they will, the trust levels will be in such a way that, you will only speak with one guy and everybody else will also trust you because of your previous relationship.
Yeah, actually, I think you saw the post I put on my Facebook. I was like, oh, this legendary band like hit me up, and so I don't want to name the band, but they're on Metal Blade, and he contacted me, and he showed me the outline of the idea. So like you, I kind of made a quick like black and white I just kind of photo bash some stuff together to my idea, and I sent them over. And he already said he contacted 3 other guys as well, and he gets back to me about a week later and was like, "Is there any way you can flesh out the idea more? Because the other artists kind of had more of a finished product." And I was like, "Finished?" But I'm like, you haven't paid me yet, so I'm like, obviously I'm not going to spend more than an hour or something on it. So I kind of refined it a little bit more. I used color, and I used sort of it still looked pretty bad, but it was like the general idea was there, and they know my portfolio. I said, "Hey, check out my website. This is my work. Obviously, you approached me for a reason. You saw my work, and you kind of, like you said, the potential of what the final piece will look like. Just use your imagination." But again, I've never worked with this band before, and I'm just a nobody to them. So it's like I can understand where they're coming from, but also for me, I'm at that age where I'm just like, I don't have time to do a full blown album cover in hopes of getting the gig. It's like I got to be sure.
Yeah, I just turned down a work for specs offer from a band that I really love, but it's just I don't want to go back to that spot of making work for specs. It has been, I don't know, maybe almost 20 years since I did something like that. So I don't. It's a tight scene. Even if I love the band so much, I don't want to be that guy you can manipulate into doing just work for free, because it's not even about work for free. It's about time-consuming work for free. But so you're not making that album cover? We can't expect.
No, I mean,
One Head Bigger on a 6 Feet Under album cover.
Yeah, well, what happened was I sent the second kind of proof, and then person went to I think he went abroad somewhere on vacation. So it's like, and he told me the due date is sometime in September. So they still haven't got back to me. So I figure I didn't get the gig. I mean, I was assuming. I was thinking about messaging him, but I was like, I mean, if they really wanted me to do it, they would have been like, "Hey, let's go ahead and do it." And I'm just like, I don't want to get my hopes up anymore.
Message him. You know why? Because there's zero downside to messaging him. So why not? I mean, my instincts are exactly the same as yours. If he wanted to, he will message me. But thinking about it from a cold logical perspective, it's like I have a lot to gain and nothing to lose from messaging the guy. Because sometimes what he will write you? He'll say, "Oh, I mean, this year alone, it happened to me twice that bands wrote me this. I wrote you a draft for my email response, and I forgot to send it." I mean, on the tiny chance that this guy sent an email that ended up in your spam folder, or forgot to send a draft, or got confused about your name, Kieran, and send it to Kantor. Unusual names, who knows? There's just zero upside from messaging him, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I should just message him, because I've actually met him in the past too. I'll let you know who it is after the interview.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, dude. I should just message the person, and be like, "Hey," even if it's like, "Oh yeah, we decided to go with somebody else." At least I'll know,
And you know what? I'll give you a specific example from my life. One of my most fruitful collaborations and relationship has been with the Japanese band Psy. We did a few album covers together, and all of their fans are really positive about them. And also me, I'm very proud of those specific album covers. But the very first time I tried to reach out to Mirai from the band, I sent him a message on MySpace. And MySpace had what we now have on WhatsApp on instant messaging, when the message goes from sent to seen. And I remember when it went from sent to seen, but he never replied to me. So I was like, that word didn't exist yet, but I was like, he's ghosting me. He's just not even answering. So I took it so personally, and so I was like not following up because of my ego. I was like, oh, this guy doesn't give a shit about me. But I cannot remember what made me email him again 2 years later, or maybe 3 years later, for the next album. I was able to let go of that initial, rejection feeling and email him again, because it was so silly. What do I have to lose from emailing this guy again? What? He will tell maybe somebody that I wrote him an email twice in 3 years? Seriously, what's the worst case scenario? So I wrote him again an email 2 or 3 years later, and we ended up working together. We did 4 albums or 5 albums since. So I'm very happy that I had a little bit of a time to think about it from a rational place.
Yeah, you're right.
To hear which band is it.
Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned that whole scene. That's one thing I hate about social media is like the like everything is like you can kind of see if someone's read something, because then it's like, oh, they didn't respond. Are they just ignoring me, or did they just like space out and forget to like respond to me? And it's just like I get so insulted, and like it's like one of my pet peeves, to be honest. At least give me a little heart emoji or like a thumbs up or something.
Maybe he's having, I don't know, his kid is bugging him about something. Maybe the time difference is he's asleep right now, and he watched your message late at night, and in the morning he forgot all about seeing it because it was 4 a.m. where he lives. Who knows? Well, I'm slowly learning that people have a life of their own that I'm not playing any part in. I'm not one of even not supporting cast. And I can't take too close to heart everything that I get, every feedback that I think I'm getting from other people. Unless they're in my face saying, you know what, I hate you because of this and this, and then I need to, think about what did I do and what happened. But before that, I just stopped taking anything personally, because I could hold these silly grudges forever. And with some of my even other bands that we've had such a fruitful collaboration, there were times when we were really arguing. Sometimes sometimes I meet those people and we get like a very personal relationship, and we hang out and without doing any work together. And after a while, you just get on each other's nerves, and you can get to a point where, things can get sour. And I used to take it very personally, but then after a while, it's like, you know what? It's not the end of the world. Relationships can heal. Relationships can renew afterwards, especially professional ones, because we still want to finish the next record and coming up with the best album title, so the next album cover, so we can forget about calling you an asshole 2 years ago about something.
So I know we all kind of have to do it, especially in these modern times with like social media and being present. I've noticed lately, like you've kind of been more like showing your face more on your Instagram, Facebook, just doing more videos talking about your artwork, and I kind of do the same thing. Obviously, that was part of the reason why I created this little channel thing too, is to kind of like get my face out there more and just keep the algorithm going, I guess. Wow, like how do you enjoy that kind of stuff, or is it like just like a job to you, having to like oh, I gotta like promote this, or I gotta like make this video so the algorithm doesn't hate me?
Yeah, I mean, you see, I enjoy those moments where we both laugh. So it's like if I wouldn't be doing these interviews with people that I would have fun between trying not to say something stupid, then I won't have any fun with it at all. But luckily, when you're not just doing promotional videos, when you're talking to actual people, then you can have a chance to also have fun and really enjoy it. But those one-on-one videos of you just doing a monologue, this is still hard for me. It feels weird. So I try to inject some humor to it and keep it interesting to me, because if I'm not being playful, then I end up hate doing it. But I'm trying. I mean, from my perspective, those two aspects to it. One of them is that my wife Nikki is in charge of the social media um, aspect of my work, so she's pushing me to do those kind of things. But also, I want to give the bands more to work with, because why not? It doesn't cost me that much. It doesn't take me so much time, but I can, instead of having this one post where I reveal the album cover, I can do another video telling people about the concept, and just plugging the band again. The band is being mentioned again. This album is being mentioned again, and and I really love those albums. I really want people to listen to them. So I know that the more I do it, it's not only beneficial to me and to my business, but also to the bands. So I'm trying to give them something extra as well. So it works in combination. It's beneficial to me and beneficial to somebody else as well, which I'm trying to actively force myself to do, because I don't think I'm kind of a selfish person, trying to push myself to do good things to other people as well, against my primal instincts. So I'm just help somebody, just do something that's also good for others, even though it's not my go-to. It's I need to train my mind to be like more of a social animal.
Yeah, I mean, I did this before the whole rise of AI and AI artwork, but like I feel like now more than ever, you kind of have to do stuff that like explains how you created the artwork, like whether it's showing process photos or like, because I think when people see that, they go, oh, okay, so this wasn't just like an AI artwork that was, spit out by a machine. It was like someone actually created it. And I think what you're doing or what I'm doing, just like talking to your audience, whoever's listening, is like it's kind of showing them like, oh, this is a real artist. He's a real person that's making real art. And has AI artwork has that affected your like business at all? Like, have you gotten less work because of it, or is it kind of hasn't really affected it?
No, I don't think I got less work, but with everything that happens, I try to be very pragmatic and logical about new developments that might have like a negative effect on my work. I remember when the Indonesian scene opened up, and there were tons of guys who would do album covers for $100, and they would do it fast and they would do it cheap. I was like, okay, I can complain about it on Facebook, saying, "Oh, this new economy is undercutting everybody," or I could look at their stuff and say, "Okay, now I need to be 10 times more not effective, but coming up with something for the bands that is worth 10 times much, and makes the price that I'm asking for make sense. So I need to provide 10 times more value." That's what I was saying. So I was looking, this is why I stopped doing a lot of like brutal death metal gore, and tons of details as well, because those guys from Indonesia would do it quickly, cheaply, and pretty good as well. And I was like, okay, this is one less thing that I can do, because otherwise it will be a race to the bottom. Each and one of us will try to undercut each other by making gorier stuff with more details, quicker and cheaper. Or I could go exactly in the other direction and think, what can I contribute that this new development can't? And with AI, what I can contribute that an auto-generated process can't is fascination and care, which each and everything that I put into my work, I'm really getting fascinated about certain aspects of it, and I'm like, I need to explore this more, because this really tingles something chemical reaction in my mind that is still not part of the auto-generated process. Maybe later on they will inject some chemicals to it. Right now it's without chemicals. So, the auto-generated process finishes a piece where the eye that he's painting looks like an eye. You and me finish it when the eye that we are drawing is so interesting to us that we think, okay, I think we are on to something special here. And that specific feeling is very much about your tendency to be moved from objects that are not just, okay, this is an eye because I managed to make it round enough and with all the right attributes of an eye. It's just, after a while, you and me won't be so happy to do it. We will only get excited about something that provides an emotional reaction from us. And you can sense it not just in artwork. If you ever, played an instrument or even, played sports or told a joke, you know that the difference between something that's just correct, the correct way to do it, and something that feels afterwards special or timeless or whatever is like hair thin. And it's only about managing to grab that moment of expression. And so when you leave it only to a technical process, it lacks that very, last tiny tweak that could make it not only like, okay, this is a joke, it has the setup and the punchline. No, this is something that will live on, and I will remember this moment. I will remember telling the joke, and the guy who's in front of me remembers hearing it. So I'm trying to get the most out of it. And one of the things I love about AI is that now the internet is dead to me. It's just so interesting because even nature videos are fake. So if one of my friends sends me a link to watch some nature video that's made in AI, I just saved myself 2 minutes of watching something that I would be so indifferent to and I won't care about in 2 minutes. So I just saved 2 minutes in my life, and I can just go outside and play with my kids instead.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, like I talked to Desi, I talked to Lee, like the process in itself, the problem solving, you have a face that might not be perfect, but that's your intention, was to draw this face to create this mood. But with AI, it's just a pretty picture with no soul behind it. So it's like it loses the whole aspect of art. Like it looks like to the average, I guess, non-artist, it looks okay. But like to me, it's just like, it's the same thing with watching a movie with an AI script. It's like the movie's real, but the script was made by AI. And it's like, this doesn't seem like a great movie. Like, why is that? It's like, oh, this script was probably written by AI or music created by AI and, vice versa. It's like, honestly, I think it's I was going to actually say something about like what makes AI art like, I totally spaced. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
My AI is malfunctioning.
You know what? The thing with AI is that whenever something new happens, I'm just saying, you know what? Let's drive this to its most optimal conclusion. I mean, the main problem that most artists have with it is the legal and moral implications of it, right? So let's just say the AI tomorrow, the artists who are suing Stable Diffusion or whatever, they win the case in the best way possible. The AI from tomorrow on can only use public domain artwork and stuff, and artwork that is 100% consensual. You still have this machine that knows how to fabricate a Vermeer and a Caravaggio, so it's still technically better than 99.99% of the artists out there on a technical level. So you can whine some more about it, or you can figure out what do you have to contribute that is different. And that's, injecting curiosity, injecting passion. And another thing that I look at it is now that everything is in the click of a button, you can create an epic scene. Now I'm free from doing epic stuff because everybody's been asking for epic stuff for so many years, and it's not epic anymore because everybody's been doing it, and now everybody is like literally everybody can do it, and it's just so freeing that you don't need to rely on details and impressing people with technical ability because it's done, it's over. Nobody's impressed with technical ability anymore because they can recreate the same kind of details with a click of a button. So in a way, it leaves you in a situation where you can't use the shallow stuff like adding details, making stuff epic or whatever, but instead you need to look deep into yourself and figure out what do I have to contribute. And I think if we look at it from that perspective, it can make our artwork be better. If we try to make emotional pieces that we care about and that and inject as much enthusiasm and curiosity as possible, because those are the things that right now, because the process is not connected to chemicals, are just not part of it, because it doesn't get curious and it doesn't get that special tingly feeling in their mind where something speaks to them on a deeper level or on a primitive level. Doesn't even matter. I'm using the word deep just because it's machinery versus human, but it's not deep. It's about a primal feeling. Right now, it doesn't have the feeling, so let's lean on to that and create stuff that we care about, and hopefully other people will care about it too.
Yeah, I think I just remembered what I was going to say. I think the idea is more important than the actual final product. Like, I would take a subpar artwork, but the concept is amazing, over a boring concept, well rendered piece. You know what I mean? Because there's something about the imperfections, but the idea behind it is what sells it. It's not the end product. And I think that's what AI misses. AI is all about, the easy way. And when, I've noticed when there's this new, like, I remember that Studio Ghibli like thing on, Midjourney was out, everybody was using it. All of a sudden it's like, nobody uses that filter anymore because it's like they got bored because you skip the process. You don't know what you're doing. You're just entering in a prompt. You lose interest because there's no, you're not using your brain cells to create the art. So it's like depth, it's not good. I don't know. It's just, I think it's just, that's a good example of AI in general. It's just people get very oversaturated and they just start tuning out. It's like they don't even see it anymore.
I think that the results just speak for themselves because 20 years ago you only had hand painted stuff and maybe very primitive Photoshop stuff, but at the end of the year you remembered maybe 10 pieces that really made an impact on you. Then came advanced digital painting, available for anybody without waiting for oils to dry, to buy canvases, to buy colors, whatever. It was more readily available and more widespread. But at the end of the year, you and I still remembered maybe 10 exceptional artworks that really stood up and were memorable. And these last couple of years with AI being out there, it spat out more imagery than in the history of human expression, but still at the end of the year, you only remember 10 of them. You only remember 10 pieces that made an impact and they were memorable, which makes me feel like the challenge of creating something that really connects with somebody is still the same. The ratio is still the same. It's still very hard to come by something that you care about. And it doesn't matter that the tool became more widespread and more easy to use and more available. It really only contributed to the availability to it for people who weren't able to express themselves and create something that makes a connection. But those people have been proven to be as rare as ever. With the digital camera, didn't make it so those photography museums all of a sudden are flooded with so many amazing photographers that didn't exist before, now that everybody can take a picture with a camera. No, I mean, there's an elite of photographers who managed to make something special even at the age of digital photos.
Yeah, there's a certain, eye and training, like a professional photographer can create an amazing photograph with an iPhone, you know what I mean? But like if you just give my 12-year-old the iPhone, hey, take a picture, it's like, it's different. Yeah, it's training, it's having an eye, it's all those aspects that AI does not have, or it tries to emulate and it just fails like every time.
Yeah, it's similar, to a drum machine. Drum machines didn't replace drummers in the list of the best drum performance of the year. It's only about how that end result resonated with people. So
yeah, totally.
I mean, I think the best approach we can have for any development in technology will be to look at the positive aspects of it and not try to be bitter about it, or to get swollen up in negativity that doesn't have an effective outlet. Because if you're just being complaining about something or pushing towards finding ways to fight it, but without being effective, it doesn't matter that we are right. It doesn't matter that we have better morals about it, if at the end result goes against us. So we need to be reminded to also be effective and try to not lose touch with how can we make this work for us.
Yeah, 100% agree, man.
and with AI, it just goes against everything that makes me enjoy the process. Because when I'm working on something, I want more control, not less control. So the more time passes, the less I use automatic processes. In the beginning, when I was so enthusiastic about trying to rip off Travis Smith, I was doing a lot of photo collages, but it had, I mean, yeah, I was able to create a flower very quickly because I just took a photo of a flower and made it whatever, but I didn't have this control over each and every petal on the flower. So I moved more and more towards painting, so I would have more control over each and every detail. And now going back to more automated processes goes against this journey that I'm already in and really fascinates me, which is making more personal choices. Each and every spot on the digital canvas, I chose to put that stroke over here with that specific color, with that specific brush length or whatever. Going in the other direction, it's not about morals or any lofty ideals. It's about technically what makes me enjoy the process and get connected to the end results as well.
Yeah, actually, because I mean, I'm not as skilled at drawing like you, so I use 3D to sort of counteract that. But I used to use a lot of photos, just stock images of models, and I was like, but then like you said, it limits you because it's it's one singular pose. But with 3D, I can literally just pose it the way I want it. I can light it the way I want it, and for the most part, I have used ZBrush to kind of make my own little assets and things like that. But I'm still limited. You're able to just kind of paint it. And I wish I could just do that. Like I would avoid 3D altogether if I could just do it.
I actually have a little bit of a background with using 3D. I remember in like the late 90s, I was using like a demo version of 3D Studio Max back then. And afterwards, I let it go for a few years until ZBrush came out. And I think the sketch for the album Dominion by Dragonlord, if you know this one album cover, it's like it was a moon shaped like a dragon's skull, and I did a sketch for it in ZBrush, because when ZBrush came out, it was so fun it was kind of like playing with Play-Doh all of a sudden, going back to like putting your hands into this mesh and creating shapes out of it. So this is, I think I used 3D in the process of only that album cover, maybe a couple of more, but it was so fun. I mean, it didn't end up on the actual album cover because I painted over it and completely obscured it, but the sketch was 100% ZBrush. And I really enjoyed, I mean, there's like kind of like a charm to all the 3D artwork as well. I mean, Dance of Death is just the other end of the spectrum, because we also remember when Poser came out. So the moment we saw that album cover, it screamed Poser to us.
Yeah, that's very infamous.
In more ways than one. It's I mean, for most people hearing this that are not into 3D programs, Poser was a program which only allowed you, I think, to use like stock figures of people, I guess. I can't remember. I only used the demo. Because I into the actual program, so I only had the demos.
Yeah, I used to use Poser, but now I've kind of switched over to Daz 3D. Daz 3D has a lot more. I mean, it's still pretty much basically the same, but the models look a lot better. Like they've improved like the look of them, but I still have to really obscure the faces and kind of with the lighting because they look just artificial if I don't do that. Like, so I did always do dramatic lighting on all my artwork because it's like, I mean, it looks cool either way, but yeah, I don't like that I don't like that Dance of Death Poser look.
Yeah.
But I know the story behind that. It was like the guy just used it for reference, and then he was gonna paint over those figures, but then the band's like, love it. It's like put our name on it. It's like that sucks. Like I can't imagine being that artist being like, oh damn it, are you fucking kidding me?
And he's a great artist. You know which one is it?
Yeah, I can't remember his name. What?
Me too. But he's the one who did all the Cathedral album covers, and they're all of them.
Yeah, I've seen some of his other work. I was like, holy shit, we could have had this like for the cover. It's like, yeah.
This is the second time I bring him up in an interview, and I keep forgetting his name. So, we really need to take like 30 seconds and look him up in order to give him a shout out, because he was just wrong. Can you do it? Can you try and do it in real time?
Yeah, I can. We'll post. I can post some of his artwork when we're talking, so it'll overlay on the thing. That's what I usually do anyway.
Okay. So add just the name so people will give him credit where credit is due, because he's a fantastic artist, and I wish we would have seen that Dance of Death album with his actual abilities and style, because he's also singular and very unique. I can recognize his work from far away.
Can I ask this with all my guests? Are there any like dream projects you'd love to work on, whether it's another out band or something completely different?
Yeah, redo Dance of Death. Because that would be the easiest job in the world when it comes to expectations, because the entire fan base will be. I mean, this is the only. I mean, whenever I did a few, re-releases over the last couple of years, I did this Behemoth one and a Lacuna Coil one and 3 Sepultura ones for Cavalera. And the originals have this charm that, it's hard to fight against nostalgia, because the entire fan base remembers how it felt like to be 16 years old and holding that original pressing of Morbid Visions or Bestial Devastation, but everybody despises Dance of Death, so it will be so easy just to, I mean, it will be bad if you approach it in that way and just go through the motions and feel so that's an easy task. But at least the pressure won't be as much on as it would be to create a new Iron Maiden album cover from scratch.
Yeah, I think you should just do it. Like, just if you have any time, just like, and then post it. And I'm sure you'll get some.
Managed to track down somebody from the band. I thought about doing it, and I have some connections. Maybe I can try to bring it up to the band's attention, but that will require me to spend a lot of time actually doing it.
Yeah,
I might do it. But that would be like the ultimate opportunity, because otherwise, you can get the Iron Maiden gig, but then they will tell you this new album is about, I don't know, dragons, and I'm like, I hate dragons. Like, I can't believe it. Now that I'm finally getting a chance to do an Iron Maiden album cover, I need to do dragons. Wow.
Yeah, it's like, be careful what you wish for.
Sure. So yeah, Maiden, Metallica, Megadeth, Merciful Fate, King Diamond, all of those, Alice Cooper, whatever, all of my favorite bands, Judas Priest, all of those would be, the bucket list.
Actually, you just mentioned my last important question of the interview. What do you like more, or who do you like more, Merciful Fate or King Diamond? Because I'm a huge fan of both, but I want to know your.
Okay. It depends. What was the last album I listened to? Was it Melissa or Them? 2 weeks ago, I listened to Them again, which is my very first King Diamond Merciful Fate album. So I have a very special connection to that record. But I also know that song against song, Melissa just has, it's just one of those perfect records. I mean, Satan's Fall alone has enough riffs to fill out another band's entire discography. So if you catch me tomorrow and ask me that question, and today I would listen to Melissa, I would say Merciful Fate. So it's an impossible choice. But have you seen them live, both bands? Because I just saw Merciful Fate for the first time like 3 years ago, was it? And they played Satan's Fall, and I was just, this is so amazing. This is the best thing ever. And the show was so good, and it sounded so good.
Yeah,
have you seen them?
I've only seen King Diamond. Like, I've seen them 3 times, but never Merciful Fate. Because every time I don't know if they toured. Did they tour the States? Or I may have missed them or something. But yeah, I'm kind of like, because I know they've had lineup changes over the years, and I'm always like, Timmy Hansen passed away, and I really wish Michael Denner was like on the record, or he was back playing guitar for them, and that was a little bit bummer. But it is politics, band politics, and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, that kind of sucks, and I'm totally with you over there. Yeah, I get it. But King is there and Hank is there, and that's enough magic for me to just be, wow, this is amazing that they're pulling off. And Satan's Fall from beginning to end. And they even played like the demo stuff. Not the demo, but the EP stuff. I can't remember. They played And Nuns Have No Fun, or Corpse Without a Soul.
Oh, yeah.
Just so good. So what's your answer to the question? King
Diamond? Kind of, because my first introduction to Merciful Fate was actually Metallica Garage Inc., the Merciful Fate medley.
Such a good
and then I was like, one of my friends, I was actually in India at the time, and my friend's like, oh, you've never heard of King Diamond? I was like, who's King Diamond? And then I started listening to some Merciful Fate songs. So I think probably Merciful Fate, just because Melissa is like the number one for me. But I also really love In the Shadows. Kind of the later stuff as well.
Yeah.
There's just more of a rawness to it, but obviously I love them both equally, but Merciful Fate just a little bit more. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if you throw Abigail into that equation too, it makes it. I mean, I love Abigail more than any other Merciful Fate album except for Melissa. I love Abigail and them for sure more than I love the other albums, even Don't Break the Oath. But yeah, I love the later day stuff as well. Time is great. In the Shadows is phenomenal. I think the first Merciful Fate song I've ever heard was "Is That You, Melissa" from In the Shadows.
Yeah, that was the first full length album I listened to, and then I found out that Lars Ulrich played drums on Return of the Vampire, and I was like, what the hell? He knows these guys, and then I realized they hung out during the recording of Ride the Lightning, and I was like, holy shit! So it's
and also love the Nine record. Nine is one of those. Also was a record that I heard that song "Last Rites" from Nine. Also one of the first songs, because it was on a Metal Hammer CD that came with the magazine. And that album is such a weird production. Everything about it is weird. I just don't like the title song, but all the other songs I love them. All of them. So yeah, it's a very special band, and King Diamond is also. I can talk forever about the other albums he did, The Eye and Conspiracy, and even the first King Diamond song I've ever heard was on MP3. It was One Down, Two to Go from
Graveyard, the Graveyard.
Voodoo.
Oh, Voodoo. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, right.
Voodoo. And that's the best song on the album. And when I'm seeing him playing live, I'm always please play that song, and never does.
Yeah, I think Voodoo kind of gets sort of. I really actually love that album a lot. It's like very dark, heavy album. Like I think it's probably one of their heaviest albums, to be honest.
And Graveyard too. Graveyard is like more. I love the story in Graveyard and the drama. I don't go back to any like specific single songs on that record, but like as a whole, I just enjoy it. House of God too. It's just.
Oh yeah.
I'm a fan. Just each and every one of them is just a unique experience, because I was listening to that kind of stuff when I was 16, so I was so immersed into it.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved the whole, like, just the theatrics, I was obsessed. I mean, I'm still obsessed. I'm still waiting for their new record if it ever comes out. It's like they're like, it's coming out next year. It's like it's been like 10 years since
and also Andy is just one of the greatest lead guitar players in history. Andy is amazing, and Hank Sherman and Michael Denner are the Andys of riff writing. They're just phenomenal. I mean, as I said, Melissa alone, that album is just, it's got everything. It's got the 2 minutes to midnight riff into it. I mean, it has the Eye of the Tiger riff in the middle of, in the middle of It's got the Painkiller riff in the middle of Satan's Fall. I mean, that album has so many riffs, and all of them are good.
And just the dynamics of the songs too. Like they, even Kirk Hammett mentioned like he loves Merciful Fate because they have these parts in their songs. It just happens once and that's it. Yeah. Like they do it one time, and that like makes you like waiting for it, and then it happens and it's like awesome. Then you just never hear it again, and that's what is cool about them. It's like they have that.
Oh yeah, and especially in the earlier albums. I mean, the structure was not so well defined and conformed as maybe like later albums. Later albums became a little bit more, verse chorus kind of stuff. But also King Diamond, until he came back with Abigail 2, which was also just a return to a more loose structure maybe. And I don't know. I just love all all periods of both bands. So no, I'm not going to answer this question.
I'm gonna plead the fifth. All right, Eliran.
A very long way to say no.
I enjoyed it because I'm a big fan, and I just thought it'd be a fun way to end the interview.
and also again, I'm looking at it from a logical perspective. There's like no negative effect on my life if I won't answer this question. Nothing happens to me. Nothing. I've got nothing to not answer.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Eliran, for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for taking an interest in whatever you asked me.
Yeah, dude. No, this was awesome. I'm gonna edit this video right away so I can get it up and running. But I'm gonna leave a link to all your social medias, your website, your store, so people can check out your work. If you don't know him already, Eliran, amazing artist, great dude, as you can see, very humble, very nice. But yeah, man. Again, thank you so much, dude, and yeah, best of luck to you. And
my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.